Welcome to The Conversation Continues, an online discussion as we talk with Josh Baugh, City Hall reporter for the San Antonio Express News, Jessie Degollado, veteran reporter for KSAT 12 television. Josh, we were talking on the TV show about, obviously, about the firefighter union-sponsored charter amendments that are up for a vote next Tuesday. What's it going to take, in your opinion, first of all, for the amendments to win, and secondly, for the amendments to lose? What are the dynamics that will be at play to make those things happen?
Well, I mean, the firefighters, I think this is a culmination of many years of fighting that has gone on with City Hall. And so, you know, it goes back to pre-2014. Their contract expired on September 30th, 2014, is in Evergreen now. And leading up to that, there was a legacy task force, and there was a lot of discussion. Cheryl Scully had blown the whistle and said, hey, if we don't address these rising healthcare costs, San Antonio is going to eventually spend 100% of its general fund on public safety, right? So that's everything for public safety, but a big chunk of that is healthcare, and that's where you see the most kind of skyrocketing numbers happening. And so, you know, she flat out said at that point, public safety personnel have to start paying a portion of their healthcare. Right now, the firefighters are in Evergreen, and so they have no premiums on their healthcare for themselves, their spouses, their dependents, and that includes stepchildren. So the statistics show that firefighters have more dependents on their health care than civilians because it's free. They'll say it's not free. They do pay some co-pays, and they have some nominal maximum out-of-pocket figures. But you know, compared to anybody else's insurance in the United States of America, these guys have, you know, just this platinum coverage, and they argue, we've negotiated to keep these benefits and in lieu of pay raises. And so you've seen this kind of play out over the years. There was a lawsuit that the city had filed over the Evergreen clause, trying to get that tossed out. And ultimately what has happened is that the firefighters decided that they needed to, in Chris Steele's own words, he wanted to extract a pound of flesh from the council members who were
make him bow down.
Make the mayor bow down. You know, these secret recordings had all kinds of language that I think that voters have found to be particularly interesting. But at the end of the day, what this is kind of the final war between City Hall and the firefighters union. And I think what's on the table now is who has the political power, who wins the Capitol, and who moves forward. You know, if the amendments pass, you know, it's a referendum on the mayor and on the city manager. If the amendments go down, it shows that there's you know, support for City Hall, for our elected leaders who make decisions on our behalf, to continue doing what they're doing. You know, and I think that you will probably see some significant shifts in union leadership, because these guys have gone at this point for 4 years without pay increases. And you know, there are some number of firefighters who I think are ready for raises, and the City Hall is ready to give them raises if they agree to a contract. The police officers have already agreed to one. You know, they're paying premiums for their dependents and their spouses. They still get free health care for themselves. And that's basically what's on the table for firefighters. And so I think that after November 6th, if the charter amendments go down, I think you'll probably see some sort of a push from City Hall to try to get the union back to the table and say, all right, we've gone through the lawsuit, you know, we lost, you guys won a lawsuit, you did your charter amendments, those have gone down, it's time for y'all to get a contract. Let's get something knocked out.
Jesse, on immigration, one thing that's kind of fallen through the cracks that I find to be the most interesting topic of immigration, we had a report out just today from the Center for Immigration Studies. 2016, 1.75 million new people arrived in the United States, either legally or illegally. What was the #1 country that was supplying immigrants to the U.S.? Not Mexico, not Central America, it was India. Talk a little bit about, as you've covered this issue over the years, how the demographics of immigration is changing and how that might affect the whole debate.
I think what I've been covering, because of our proximity to the border, so that's the area that I'm most familiar with, as opposed to years prior when we saw mostly Mexican nationals coming looking for work. We now see, because of the unrest in Central America, in that, you know, in that triangle, violence and the corruption is what's driving what we're seeing now in such great numbers. far more, the family units reaching near record levels in the Rio Grande Valley. And I think that that is what has really changed more than anything. And again, the reception that they're getting. For the most part, in the past, Mexican immigrants who were coming were wonderful labor. Yay, put up those roofs.
Mow my lawn, yeah.
Mow our yards, take care of our elderly. So that was okay, we'll see. And even employers were helping them get citizenship or become legalized. But with these Central American families, it's almost okay, now what do we do? How do we absorb them?
And you see some fairly significant cognitive dissonance from the people who are very anti-immigration.
Yes.
I was at a coffee shop recently talking to somebody who had a neighbor whose front yard is plastered with Ted Cruz signs and anti-immigration signs, and Make America Great Again, all this stuff. And apparently his rhetoric is very much,
Yes.
About anti-immigration.
Ted Cruz being the son of an immigrant, of course.
Yes, and while all this stuff is on display in his yard crew shows up, and they are, I'm told they were all Mexican nationals here, without documentation, and so he, again, this is just an anecdote, but this guy appears to have been okay with having his yard cut by people from Mexico, but not, having the idea of them coming here was just anathema to him.
And I guess what I find most disturbing, and a lot of people find very disturbing, are the racial undertones, and some of them being blatant in terms of, is it just brown people? Are we talking about you just don't want to see more brown people coming to the United States? Although some would say, well, those are potential Democrats. Well, there's a long way before they get to the ballot box. They've got to go
Be
through
citizens first.
thousands and thousands of dollars and many years of legalization that's involved. It just doesn't happen overnight. Go talk to anyone at USCIS who will tell you it's not an easy process. It's very difficult, very expensive. And as one woman told me yesterday at a naturalization ceremony for children, it's very stressful, unbelievably stressful. So the fact that my child is now officially a citizen, she says, it's a victory for us. It's a victory.
And Jessie Degollado from KSAT 12 and Josh Baugh from the Express News. Thank you for joining us for The Conversation Continues.